My name is Eli Bialik from Nefesh B'Nefesh. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are proud to have another community webinar session where we are going to be learning about the community of Raanana. I'd like to mention that we're going to be, as in our other webinars, we're going to be having a presentation by the Aliyah and Klita department of Raanana. And then afterwards, we're going to meet some of the residents who live in the community, and they're going to share their experiences. And if we have time at the end, we'll be able to open up for questions and answers. Please, if you have questions that you would like us to field, put the questions in the Q&A. We will not be looking at the chat, and we will do our best to answer whatever questions that we can. If we're unable to answer your question, please be aware that on the 4th, we're going to be having an open session of questions and answers for all different communities. So feel free to join us then. What I'd like to say that if you are considering to make Aliyah within the next 8 to 10 months and you have not yet submitted an Aliyah application, now would be the time to go on to the Nefesh B'Nefesh website, nbn.org.il, and to submit an Aliyah application. We're going to share today's presentation and the contact information of those who are participating within a day or two, so that you can follow up if you have questions, and you'll be able to see this again. And it is my pleasure at this time to introduce Nechama Efrati, who is the head of the Aliyah and Klita department of the Raanana municipality, and she has a team with her today. Audrey Levy is also from the Klita department. Avia David is also the contact person for English speakers of the Klita department of Raanana. And we have some community members, Marcy Clare, and Sarah, you're going to have to please pronounce your last name for me. Sarah, can you hear me?
Yeah, Dilatower.
Dilatower. Thank you very much. Okay, without further ado, Nechama, please introduce us to Raanana. Okay, so and Nechama is handing it over to Audrey. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you. As Raanana, first of all, Raanana is known as the jewel of the Sharon, and we'll try to explain you why we have this such a reputation. You can go to the second slide, please. Josh, we need your help. We need your help, Josh, to go on.
Josh Sussman is in the background, and he is being asked to forward the slide to the next one.
To the next slide, yes. Because okay, great. So first of all, Raanana is a city located between Tel Aviv and Haifa on the west side of the coast near Herzliya. And it's wonderful beach. And Raanana is about 20-minute drive to Tel Aviv. So it's really in the center of the country and not too far from the economic and dynamic of the country. We can go ahead from the next, the other next slide. Yeah. So Raanana is a quite small city with about 90,000 residents, and most of them are families, and that's to say young people with children, and they are very attracted with high quality education that we will develop after the presentation. We can go to the next slide, please. Great, thank you. So Raanana benefits from a very high quality of life level with a high score in socio-economic index. And that's why we say that in general, Raanana is a city more expensive than the average in Israel. That is to say that we have a high level of socioeconomic index. Next slide, please. Thank you. Raanana is a city building to answer the needs of its population. It's important to know that environment is one of the big priorities of the city, and it leads Raanana up to one of the best cities in Israel to live in. So we really enjoy to live here thanks to this environmental quality of life here in Raanana. Next slide, thank you. This is the view of Raanana. So as you can see here, you have Achuza Street, that is the main street of the city from east to west. And in this main street, you can find a lot of sort of shops, restaurants, and all the activity and the center here. And we really enjoy to have a work on it and to have so many stops. And you have also the area of Kiryat Edgarim in the northeast. That is a more industrial or high-tech area. So we will speak about it later on. And a new neighborhood, it's Neve Zemer, that is growing up since 5 years about. It's a very new neighborhood with a lot of environmental standards and a lot of sports structures and sportive structures and so on. So this is Begadol in a large view of Raanana, and in the next slide you can see the map of Raanana today. Maybe that will help you more regarding all the streets to give you some points, but it's more or less what we just saw now together. In the next slide, regarding economy, Raanana counts mostly offices, services, and small businesses, as you can see here in the pictures. So the green one, and it's a very specific point of the city. Yes. Since the 90s, Raanana took a strategic decision to bring high-tech companies here, and several projects with appropriate infrastructures came out, and that's why nowadays Raanana is considered as the Israel Silicon Valley. If you can go to the next slide. Yes, we are likely to name Raanana as Israel Silicon Valley because here in Raanana we have big and very well-known companies such as NICE, HP, or Amdocs, or etc. So as you can see, all these buildings are in the neighborhood of Raanana and gives a very high-tech spirit in the city. As if we can give you some more details about Raanana, for who is Raanana? Raanana is made for people that are looking for high quality of life, as I already speak about, with a high level of education. We have lots of infrastructures and schools and high school, and we will develop it later on. And it's a city, what is very important, it's a city of pluralism. What is pluralism is to say that Raanana is a city very open to everyone, religious, non-religious. Everybody live with here together and respect each other. it's not a Haredi or a religious city. There are so many different sort of people here that live together. And also, it's a city of choice for Olim families, thanks to structures that are dedicated to Olim integration and a very helpful community life. So for the structure of the integration, we will see just after in the next slide. Thank you. So Raanana offers an ulpan for adults in the Markaz Klita of the city, in the center of the city. We have also here in Raanana a lot of volunteers and Olim communities that are very helpful and warmful and helping a lot of Olim in their everyday life. So it's not the case in all the cities in Israel. So it's a very specific point here in Raanana. And regarding education, Raanana has developed a specific concept of Kitat Olim to facilitate young students to integrate faster. So it's a kind of structure oriented specifically for Olim with specific programs adapted to them to make them learn Hebrew faster and integrate better. Let's make a point of the schools, because I know that, as I know, Raanana is a city for families, so families with children. So regarding the schools, we have here in Raanana 4 public religious schools. As you can see here, so it's Ariel, Yavne, Bilou, Ve'atzmai. All these 4 schools are depending on your address. So it's depending on where you will live, and you will be affected to this or this one. You have also private or semi-private school. You have Noam and Chorel, that is your more religious. And you have also what we call public. It's non-religious education. You have sectorial school, Ziv and Tali. As you can see, Tali, we have 2 stars because it's very particular school. It's a more liberal school. There is no religious education, but more general Judaism knowledge. It's like a mix of the in-between. It's in-between. It's not Haredi and religious, but it's not without religion. It's in-between. Okay. And regarding the secondary school, high school, you have in the public, you have 2 main structures. You have Asharon to 7 to 9 degree, and Ostrovsky to 10 to 12 degree. Just you to know that Ostrovsky is one of the well-known, of the best-known high school in Israel. In a very high rank in high school. And you have also religious school from 7 to 12 degrees. So all the studies you have for the girls. Let's begin with girls. You have for the girls Amit Renanim in the center of the city, and for the boys you have or Bnei Akiva, that is something very known in Israel. It's a movement also with volunteers and many activities. And you have in Kfar Batya, that is a little neighborhood of Raanana, you have 2 structures, Chevro Mishpat and technology. Okay, so you have many choice for your children here, depending on your preferences and your priorities. Regarding the synagogues, as you may know, synagogues are more than just a place for prayers. It's also a place for community help and socialization. You have a lot of English speaker synagogues here in Raanana, so you can Google it and CFO where they are in the city, but you have Calibar, Orel Ari, and you have also depending of your movement and what you are where you are praying in general. So I just wanted to finish with this slide. That is the slide with our contact. So you have the contact of Nechama Esfati with her email. She is head of absorption department. And you have also the email of Avia she's here. And she is English speaker, and she will be very happy to welcome you. So I invite you to keep this contact with you, and wish you בהצלחה and ברוכים הבאים in Raanana.
Thank you so much, Audrey. Very much appreciated. Avia, we'd love to hear about what do you do for the Raanana municipality?
So hi everyone. I'm Avia. I'm the new coordinator. What I do is I basically, whatever you need to know, everything you need to ask, you're not sure about, you can reach out to me and I can help you with the municipality, with everything that you can think of. I don't know. I'm just here for you.
Fantastic. Okay, Avia, thank you so much for introducing yourself. Marcy, I would very much like to ask you, what was your motivation for moving to Raanana, and who do you think Raanana is a good fit for?
So I moved to Raanana. We actually moved from Philadelphia 7 years ago. We moved with 3 kids. They were young at the time. I had a son going into 2nd grade. I had a daughter who was 2, and I had another son who was going into kindergarten. Raanana was a choice for us because we were looking for a community, like a real community in Israel that was sort of based around the synagogue. We felt that it was very family-based, and that was important to us. We liked that Raanana was in the center of Israel. That was important, that it was close to Tel Aviv and Herzliya. And then, I don't know if this is relevant to people, but my husband also commuted to Philadelphia. So we felt that Raanana was well placed with regard to the airport and getting back and forth.
And did that play out well? In other words, is it convenient to the airport?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people in Raanana that commute and that are that commute back and forth.
Yeah. What neighborhood do you live in?
We live in a neighborhood. We live near the Bilu school. It's called, I think it's called, and Nechama will correct me. I think it's called Shchunat Alpine, like the 2000 neighborhood. It's a neighborhood that is a mix of apartment buildings and private homes. It is very close to the main street of Achuza. It is also very close to a highway, which is called the 531, which will take a person directly to Herzliya or Tel Aviv or other parts in central Israel.
Okay.
It's also near, elementary schools, middle schools. Raanana is a small town. It's not, you can really go from one end to the other in about 10 minutes. You could probably walk from one end to the other in about 45 minutes. It's a very small town. It neighbors Kfar Saba on the one side and it neighbors Herzliya on the other side. So in theory, you could also walk to Herzliya, you could walk to Kfar Saba. It's a very, very small town.
And do you find that you're able to meet most of your needs locally, whether it is cultural activities or shopping? Is that something that you do locally in Raanana, or you travel for that?
No, we meet most of our needs locally. Sometimes if we want to go out to nice restaurants, we go to Tel Aviv or we go to Herzliya. But there are nice restaurants in Raanana. It's limited. It's a small town. There are people that send their kids, they're high schoolers, I'd say middle schoolers and high schoolers, out of town for school. Elementary schools are mostly, the needs are met in Raanana. There are people that would send their kids out of town for school. We are Orthodox, so I'm speaking about like an Orthodox Dati religious community. I'm less familiar with what happens in the non-religious families. I think most of the educational needs for non-religious families can be met in Raanana. And for example, my children, I've got one child going into high school, one child in middle school. They both are educated in Raanana. They're in a very good school called the Technology School. It's an Amit school in Kfar Batya, and we're very pleased with it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Marcy. I'd love to get to meet Sarah as well. And Sarah, if you could please share with us how you got to Raanana and why you love it there.
So we came to Raanana 14 years ago nearly. We actually made Aliyah from Asia, but I'm Belgian originally. We chose Raanana mainly, our main selection, the main reason was we wanted the kids to maintain and their French and their English. I speak English with them and my husband speaks French with them. We have Israeli English speaking and French speaking friends, so it worked out. We managed to integrate in all the different groups. I have 5 children. When we came to Raanana, they were 6 months, 3 years, Kita Aleph, Gimel and Hey. And I mainly I had at a certain point kids in every school of Raanana. I had a son in Technology. My 3 daughters are in or have finished Amit. And I had a son also at Yeshivat Bnei Akiva. So my husband was also on the going back and forth at the beginning. And I must say that even though I had young children, I was never left alone a single Shabbat in Raanana. We always had friends that would invite us and make sure that I would manage. And that was naturally a very big help. I live closer to the Kfar Saba side, so a bit further than Marcy. And we go to Oel Ari synagogue that's mainly English speaking, very big American English crowd.
So that's one of the things that seems to resonate about the community, and I've spoken with a number of Olim about this. That what really makes Raanana unique is its special sense of community, where there really is that environment of people inviting others out for Shabbat meals, and there very much is that connectivity. Do you find that is in specific neighborhoods of Raanana, or is that just in general with the English-speaking Ole population?
I don't think it's only English speaking. I definitely think it's also amongst the French speaking, but I think it's something that's all over Raanana. I mean, when I invite people, I don't ask what side they live of Raanana. What side they live.
Right. And Marcy, what are your thoughts on that as far as the connectivity of the community? Is that something which you feel throughout, or is that in certain neighborhoods?
No, I think it's pretty universal in Raanana. I think it's universal in Raanana. I would say that again, we're an observant Orthodox family, so a lot of our life is based around our synagogue. On Sarah's side of town, also she's on the west side of town. A lot of their lives are also based around the synagogues. But no, I think like it's just a very friendly, neighborhoody town, and it's not very large, so you get to know people.
Okay. Now it's interesting. Nefesh B'Nefesh has Olim who are young, who are older, who are secular, who are religious. And what's interesting is that up until now, we've talked mostly about the religious community, and it appears to be that the vast majority of the religious community is perhaps what we would call dati le'umi, or similar to modern Orthodox, if we talk about North American terms. Is that accurate, or is there also a community which is more Torani to the right? Is there a Haredi community? How does that work as far as religious affiliation in Raanana?
So I'll give my piece, and then anyone can feel free to correct me. I think what your description is correct. I think it's mostly like a national religious community, and various shades of gray within that definition, going from some people that are sort of very stringent to some people that are a lot less stringent. I like Raanana because it's not very judgmental. Sort of everyone just gets on with what they do, and no one's looking at anyone. There is a Torani community. It's not a huge community. It has gotten bigger with the French immigrants that have moved in. There is a very small ultra-Orthodox community, but I mean, it's mostly an Israeli Hebrew-speaking community. I think from a community point of view, there is a community here for Torani families. I think from an education point of view, I have a friend who I guess is more Torani than we are. I think from an education point of view, they often have to find solutions that are out of the city. Anyone can feel free to correct me, but that is my understanding. There are also families there's also like a not religious community that is very welcome in Raanana, and that enjoys the proximity of Raanana to Tel Aviv and Herzliya without having to live in Tel Aviv. So Raanana is a nice solution for that.
So is there a conservative community or a reform community in Raanana?
There is a conservative synagogue, which I believe has a community. I am less familiar with what is going on in the reform community here. There are also two communities that are, well, there's one community that's a wonderful community that's a little more egalitarian, like an Orthodox egalitarian community. I don't know. I can't answer that about reform. I don't really know, but I can answer conservative community there is. I don't know how active a community it is. Like, I don't know if it's a community that sit at each other's Shabbat tables and get together every hike. That I don't know.
Any other of our participants, are you familiar with a reform community in Raanana? I just don't know.
I know maybe Nechama or Audrey would know, but this I don't remember the name of the synagogue. The one where Judith Danzes goes. That's it's a big Spanish-speaking crowd that goes there, and there I went once. I'm also Orthodox, but I went. It's mixed. Men and women do sit together during prayers, and they have a siddur of themselves. I mean, that they have set up, but I would have to find out. I'm not sure what the address is, but I would say that also for the slightly more religious, the Torani school, for lower school, you have Noam, where the school is separated girls and boys. Bilu, Yavne, and Ariel are mixed girls and boys. And once it becomes high school, all the religious schools are separated. So you have the only girls' school and the only boys' school. But let's say my mom, who's not religious, and my sister, who's not religious, my mom lives in Israel, and my sister feels as comfortable to come to me Shabbat by car, and no one will look at me strangely because she's coming. So that's also one of the reasons we did choose Raanana. We wanted it to be welcoming. Only my husband and me and the children are religious. And we wanted our parents to feel comfortable to come and go as they please.
And regarding this point, if I can add something, when we spoke about the synagogues, we mentioned in the presentation there are two synagogues that are, one is Beit Shmuel, that is a reform movement, and you have also the Mesorati, more conservative movement. So I joined the point that Sarah just developed now. It's very, it's a city with a lot of big pluralism, and you can find people very religious, people not religious at all, and you can make your choice and eat what you want. It's like a big salad melting pot, and but everybody lives together. It's okay. The city is not closed during Shabbat, so you can take your car. But mostly in the center, for example, all the restaurants are kosher, for example. So there is like what we call here a statu quo of the city. That means that in the center it's more religious observing and respecting. But the city is not closed. You can drive during Shabbat. You can move, and there are some areas next to the park. We haven't spoke about the big park Raanana that is also very well known in Israel. And over there, everything is open during Shabbat, for example. But in the center of the city, everything closed for Shabbat. So you have like this a mix in the way of how we live our religion here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Everybody, bruchim habayim.
Toda rabba. So what I wanted to ask was, for those who work in professions other than high tech, okay, so what availability of employment is there in the area? How does that work? Would anybody like to address that question?
Maybe I can make a point on that.
Feel
So
free.
we point out the high tech orientation of the city, but not everybody is working there, of course. You have a lot of small jobs, I mean jobs in the center of the city, but you have also for high qualified people, you have an association named Gvahim. Maybe you know about it. They are located in the Merkaz Klita, and they are dedicated to help people with academic profile to find job. So they are a great family. There are a lot of mentors and a lot of alumni in the people, in the staff, and in all the profession and the companies in Israel. And in that way, you have a lot of workshops and help in order to adapt your resume, to adapt yourself to the interview here in Israel, how to find a job in Israel, where are the websites to find a job and to search job here. So they are very dedicated to that. And now from this year, they are located directly near the Ulpan, at the same place that the Ulpan. So you can, during your pause, you can go to them and have some tips and register also. So all depending on your profile and what you are looking for. But you have, for high level academic profile, you have Gvahim that help you. And you have also in the Misrad HaKlita, someone she can help you finding your maybe your reorientation or your new job, new life here in Israel. So there are many kind of help here.
Thank you. Thank you. I see one of the questions in the Q&A was about Ulpan levels in Raanana. What Ulpan levels are usually offered at the main Ulpan?
Okay, so in Raanana you have all kind of levels. It begins with Aleph level, first level, junior, okay, and you have all level Aleph plus, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, okay, and the advanced. And what can I say? And you have also you have, first of all, an ulpan, a general ulpan to improve your Hebrew, a general Hebrew. And after that, you have the possibility to choose a professional ulpan for example, a paramedical ulpan or medical ulpan if you are in the field of medicine, medical, and etc. You have
how frequently is that offered in Raanana?
what?
How frequently? Is this something which takes place once a year, twice a year?
You have, in general, you have 2 sessions ulpan per year. You have 1 session from September to January, February, and a second session from March to July. Okay, so generally, if you want to make the 2 ulpan, that means if you want to make the first Hebrew ulpan in general, you make it first, and after you make the second session for the professional or the medical ulpan in the second part of your year.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. What I also I wanted to ask, and please, any of our participants, please feel free to jump in on this question. You know, we have a lot of Olim who are what we call empty nesters, young retirees, people who are 50 and above, who are looking for the right community for them. Is Raanana a place that attracts many people of this demographic?
As I can answer, the main majority of Raanana is families, okay, and in a demographic point of view, we have young adults between 30 to 40, 45, and we have children that are the main majority of the demography of Raanana. Regarding the older people, the retires, we have, of course, and we have also some activities. We have a lot of municipal activities like clubs for music, dance, bridge, sports, and Pilates, and etc., etc. So there is, and but it's more developed than all the activities for the youngs and the children. But you have also here in Raanana some concerts and cultures. We hope that it will come back after this crisis of COVID, but we have also classical music with an orchestra very well known here in Israel. So it is in Raanana, Symphonette Raanana. So we have a lot of activities for older people, and it's good to mention that in the Ulpan you have also the possibility to learn Hebrew, whatever your age, from 18 to 120.
Thank you.
I would like to just add that as someone nearing the 50s, I do not intend to leave Raanana. So I guess, no. So I guess that at a certain point, there will be also an older community that will probably want to stay active and have a game in what's happening here. So I think it's hard to say yes or no, because it's a constantly evolving community, actually. And I must say, the Raanana, the municipality, they feel it, and they have set up a few things. Like they have things like they call Club 3, that's an active group of people that they have set up for the 60 pluses, where they, before Corona, had tiulim and activities. So they do see the need, and they are developing it and working at it. I mean, Audrey or Nechama will have much more to add.
No, you're right, but also what we can point out is that most of retired Olim, they come because they join their families here. That means that the children make Aliyah here in Raanana, and after the parents come and join them here. So they are not alone like that in the city. It's like a family that is rebuilt here.
Okay, thank you very, very much. What I'd like to do is I'd like to get real for a second, and I want to ask a tough question. You know, sometimes we have Olim who are concerned about moving to a community where there may be too many English speakers. And I wanted to ask you, is there a downside to moving to Raanana? Is there such a thing as living in a community where there are just too many English speakers? And is that the case? Marcy, would you like to share your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I actually have very specific thoughts about that. I think the downside is that our kids don't pick up Hebrew as quickly as they would in a different city in Israel. If they were in Rishon or Beersheba or Jerusalem, they'd pick up Hebrew much quicker. My kids go to schools. I know that they speak English during their recesses because they hang out with all the English speakers. And because like kids just naturally gravitate towards the people that speak the same language as them, it's very hard to break the pattern. So I think our kids pick up Hebrew at like much slower than they would in another city. I also think that what happens, and I don't know if this is a bad thing, I just think it's a phenomenon that you see lots of Olim that come here that tend to stick together and don't integrate into Israeli society. They also don't speak Hebrew, so they can't follow the news, they can't participate sort of in broader society. So they live in somewhat of a bubble in Raanana, and Raanana is a bubble. And then you could see the good or the bad in that. There could be, it's good because you're comfortable and it's like a very soft landing if you're going to make Aliyah. And it's bad because it's hard to integrate into greater Israeli society. I went to university here, so I speak fluent Hebrew. My husband also went to the army here. He speaks fluent Hebrew, but there aren't many among our friends. There aren't many people that work in Hebrew or speak fluent Hebrew.
So people can actually get along most of the day speaking in English in Raanana.
Yes, I think they can. It might even be frustrating because you might go into a store and try and practice your Hebrew and the shopkeeper will answer you in English. There are lots of, Sarah, correct me if I'm not, if you think it's not right. But yeah, I do think you can pretty much get through Raanana speaking English, but that depends. It means that you need to have an English speaking job. If you want to move into, I have friends who made Aliyah, he's a lawyer. They are new Olim. I think they've been here for 4 years. He requalified as a lawyer. He works in Amdocs. I think he works in Hebrew. His wife is a pharmacist and she started working in Teva and she also works in Hebrew. So I think you could pretty much get by here in English. I have friends who get by in English, but they're either working overseas or they found very specific English speaking jobs in Israel. And then we do have a few friends that have integrated. I work in Hebrew. My husband works in Hebrew. I work in Ramat Gan. It takes me about half an hour to get there. My husband works mostly in Raanana, Herzliya, Tel Aviv.
I must say,
I would like to add something regarding the population that we are residing here in Raanana, just to know that we are residing and absorbing Olim from 22 countries. So it's not just from one country or two countries, like in some cities, like in Ashdod or Netanya, or it's a very multicultural city. So in these 22 countries, most of them are English speaker, that's right, but they're coming from South Africa, Canada, and India. So it's not like it's a mosaic, because you have English speaker, French speaker, Brazilian people a lot, Turkish and everything. When you are in the street, you can hear up to 10 languages in one day. So it's not like, it all depends on what you want to do and where you want to go, and what you want to make as Aliyah. I speak also as Ola Hadasha, I'm here for 5 years, come from France, and all depend on what you want to do and with whom you want to stay. So if you want to integrate and to meet people and to speak with the other mothers and the Israeli mothers at school, you can. If you want to stay in your comfort zone and speak with also only English speaker, also you can. So it's a matter of choice and of volunteer to integrate, or more or less of integration of more or less of about the, but it's very personal. It's not we cannot say it's like everybody don't live in a bubble, but if you want, you can.
Right, right. So the reason why I posed that question, because I just wanted to see how your own personal perspectives. Obviously, we are thrilled to have people make Aliyah. We want you to come to Raanana. Raanana is a wonderful opportunity. It's important to know that it's not for everybody, because it's a little bit more expensive than the average city in Israel. There's a wonderful quality of life. There is so much that the city offers. And I wanted to thank all of you for joining us and participating. I'd like to thank Nechama Efrati, who assisted in organizing. She is the department head of the Klita department of Raanana Municipality. Audrey, thank you so much for your presentation. It was a pleasure to meet you. Avia, Marcy, and Sarah, thank you so much for your input. And we look forward to seeing Olim come to Raanana. I'd like to say, we didn't get to address all of the questions in the Q&A. But on the 4th, there's going to be an open session for anybody who has a question, and I'll be there to be able, with my colleagues, to be able to answer some of your questions, not just relating to Raanana, but to other communities as well. And like I said, if you have plans to make Aliyah within the next 8 to 10 months, now would be the time to submit an Aliyah application on the Nefesh B'Nefesh website, nbn.org.il, and we all look forward to seeing you in Israel real soon. Toda rabba.
And maybe take the mail address of Avia.
Yeah, it's Avia Olim, AVIYA OLIM @gmail.com.
Thank you. We're going to share the contact information in the follow-up email that we're going to be sending. So everybody who is interested in reaching out to us will be able to do that. Okay.
Great.
Thank you so much. Toda rabba.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
להתראות.
Bye bye.